So this is clearly the decisive decade to tackle the climate crisis. The goal is to stay below a 1.5 centigrade rise in global temperature. Doesn't sound like much until you really think about talking about a whole planet. The countdown, bringing it down, is on. Today we've invited local leaders to highlight their efforts and also to talk about how you can help them. I've asked each presenter to note, whoops, let me wake the computer up. This is what I need to do. There we go. So if each presenter could take a note of where they are on the agenda, starting over on the left, who you're coming after, okay? Because I'm going to ask the presenters to just come up to the podium and introduce yourself. And I'm going to ask the audience to hold on any applause. At the end, we'll show our appreciation to all of the presenters. But it's quite a list. And I've also asked the presenters to keep it to 5 minutes, which is a challenge. But that means we'll get home tonight, right? And then after they have presented, I want to open it up to everybody to ask questions, make comments, things like that. But I'm asking you to hold those thoughts. So I did provide some pens and scrap paper. Let me just grab that and start that circulating. Here it is. Sorry. Here you go. So you can jot down questions so you remember to come back to it later. Okay. And so with that, and I guess I also want to say, I'm looking forward to leaving with hope, with ideas, and a renewed commitment to do more. We do need to do it together. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer. Okay. I have a little timer up here for my speakers. I also will have a timer on the computer. It will probably be a little bit out of sync. But if you want to take a look at it, and if everybody just click that bottom button, it will turn it on. And then you click it, and it will turn it off. All right? And I need to, yeah.
Hi everybody, my name is Jennifer Coulter. I'm the manager here at Powers Library. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. Carrie asked me to speak about some of the changes that we made here at Powers Library recently to be more in touch with our plan of sustainability, our commitment to sustainability. So to begin with, we created an environmental policy and posted it publicly to declare our commitment to sustainability. We are committed to reducing our environmental footprint and promoting environmental stewardship at all levels of our organization, and our goal is to minimize the organization's impact. We will strive to minimize pollution and waste, conserve energy and water, protect the habitat, support renewable energy resources, and buy environmentally friendly products. And these efforts will extend to our contractor and supplier relationships and ask them to meet our standards of environmental performance. Employees at all levels of the company are involved in supporting our goals. We're hoping that we are going to set an example for the other businesses in town. We also, through NYSERDA and the Green Jobs New York Energy Study, received an energy audit from Daylight Savings Company. We're awaiting our results, and that will outline our potential energy and cost savings and opportunities. We've also joined the Climate Smart community in Pound Ridge, with Carrie's urging and assistance, which we've pledged to take actions to implement complementary initiatives and collaborate to offer programs like this one, promoting sustainability for our community and our citizens. We're also working with Dandelion Energy. We're waiting to receive a proposal for geothermal energy here at the library, which is very exciting. And lastly, and the one I'm most proud of, is that we've earned our Green Business certification from the Green Business Partnership through these efforts. So some evidence that you'll see around the library of those efforts that we have made, and thank you to the trustees for getting behind this effort. Our entry vestibule now has a 3-bin recycling receptacle, and you'll find recycling bins throughout the library. You might have noticed in the hallway when you came in that we now use a bottleless water cooling system because we found out that small vehicles such as water delivery trucks contribute 17% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. We didn't want to be a part of that. We made this effort to switch over. We purchased all of our equipment with sustainability in mind. We buy things that have the climate pledge friendly and product certification impact. Thank you very much. You'll also see we've changed over our paper products and cleaning products. We purchased mainly from Grove Collaborative, who I'm just thrilled to be working with, and they are for both businesses and for homes. And I suggest you all go and check out what Grove Collaborative. They're just amazing. The paper towels that we got, just for example, are from fast-growing sustainable bamboo fibers instead of trees, because bamboo takes about 3 months to grow back after harvesting, and trees take about 20 years. You know? And it's panda friendly, not food for the pandas. They also replant forests. Every time you buy a product from Grove, it helps restore American forest land by planting tree seedlings in areas where trees once stood. Everything comes in packaging with made of recyclable paper and pesticide-free and socially conscious. For example, our soap and scrubbing pads are made from walnut shells and recycled polymers. Next, I like that still on there. We created a recycling area for labels and cartridges. Absolutely everything is recycled. We've added a rain gauge to make sure that we're watering properly. We can allow the system to automatically determine how long it should water and optimal times to reduce evaporation, waste due to rain, wind, humidity, and mealtime soil moisture. And lastly, again, I've got to give credit to Carrie, who came up with the idea. This year we hosted our first, and going to be annual, costume swap, take it or leave it. So we took in probably, we started with maybe 1 or 2 costumes that I found at home. Took in about 2 dozen and sent out about a dozen more. So that was really popular, and we're going to continue to do that every year. So thank you for listening. I wanted to just show you some of the things that you can do at home. I noticed that we had a lot of laundry jugs and dishwashing, but they came in those very big, heavy plastic jugs. I didn't realize you can only recycle those once or twice, and then they're going in the landfill. So I wanted to point out this is from Grove, for dishwasher and laundry, so much less waste. And also the laundry sheets are available, so go and check them out. Thank you.
I know, well, it's hard.
Hi everyone, thank you very much. My name is Carla Brand and I'm with the Town of Pound Bridge Town Board, and I'm thrilled to be here today. And I was thinking as I was leaving that the timing couldn't be more significant given that the world leaders in Glasgow are just wrapping up the COP26 summit right now, and it sounds like they're close to some agreements, which would be fantastic. And it's always great to see how we can take what's happening globally and bring it into action here. So thank you. I don't know if this timing was on purpose, but it's perfect timing. So looking forward to seeing what everyone's doing in terms of putting their ideas into action. You know, as a town, we're really proud to support the efforts of everybody in this room and all the organizations, and also do what we can, you know, on our part to further your goals. So whether it's approving initiatives that we need to get the Climate Smart certified, working towards silver, you know, we're all for that. For the townhouse, you see a lovely townhouse right here. You know, we recently, in the courtroom, we're updating all of the electronics to become a hybrid for Zoom meetings and things like that. And while we've been doing that, we've updated all the lighting to LEDs. We got the attic cleaned out finally, so now it's going to be ready for the insulation that we've been wanting to do, but we needed to get 100 years of paper out of there. I guess that was the old insulation. That's out now. And most recently, one of the things that we did, and with the help of Sustainable Westchester, was submit grants for 10 charging stations in the town. So there would be potentially 4 in the town park, 2 at the townhouse, and 4 additional dual charging stations in the parking district. These will be level 2 stations. We're very, very hopeful that we'll get some or all of this, funded through these grants, and we should hear back from those in December, I'm told. So we have our fingers crossed that that's going to come through. And again, so looking forward to hearing what everybody else is doing and seeing how we can help. So with that, I'm going to pause and see my 3 minutes to Bob. I know he is longer.
Carrie, it's all about negotiations.
I'm starting at time.
So, hi, my name is Bob Siegel. I'm the coordinator of the Climate Smart Task Force for Pound Ridge. And so, the Climate Smart program was established in 2009. It's an interagency initiative between the DEC and NYSERDA and a couple of other agencies. It supports local governments in their quest to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and in mitigating and trying to adapt to the effects of climate change. And the goal is to enhance resiliency to climate change while adapting to a changing climate. So, becoming certified as a climate smart community over the grant opportunities, some, as Calder said, it could be EVs, it could be charging stations, and it provides Pound Ridge as with recognition as an environmental leader. Certification process involves taking a climate action pledge, selecting items that you want to undertake and documenting their completion. There are more than 100 climate mitigation and adaptation actions involving waste, recycling, composting, energy, climate resilience, and adaptation, community education, and outreach. So there's a whole bunch of things that one can do. Next. This doesn't go this one, right? So there are 3,400 communities in New York State. 347, so approximately 10%, have taken the Climate Smart Pledge. Of that, 72 communities, so about 20%, have become brown certified. 8 communities in the state have become silver certified. So we attained brown certification at the end of 2020, right before the pandemic. And so our goal for 2022 is to either obtain or come close to obtaining silver certification. Now, given the fact that only 8 communities have done that, and that we only have 3,500 full-time residents approximately, it's a reach, but obviously we're going to try. Next. So how can you help us become certified silver? And so we need your help because we need you to tell the town that we need to be greener. And we're very green as far as we have trees and preserves, but the town needs to be as green as it can be. So we need you to support the activities of those who are working to make the town greener and who are working to reduce the town's carbon footprint. And we need you to help us work on community smart community projects to the extent you can, because it takes a village, or with us it takes a town. Next. So we need to do what we can to be greener. We need to reduce our carbon footprint. And the bottom line is each of us can make a difference. We only have one planet, so let's work together to save it. So that's about the Climate Smart community specifically. Now I'd like to take Colin a couple minutes to speak about the broader issue. So, what has the state done and how does it affect our community? We spoke about reducing energy usage, about greenhouse gas emissions, but in 2019, New York State adopted the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And that's still the leading climate legislation in the U.S. And the CLCPA sets aggressive greenhouse gas emission targets, and municipalities must help the state reach these goals. The state can't do it alone. And so each municipality and each person in the municipality, each resident, has to do his or her part. Thus far, as a climate smart community, we've been involved in a solarized campaign, a heat smart campaign. We created a town recycling and organic waste program, conducted a waste education, reduction education campaign, examined all the town buildings with regard to energy efficiency, commenced preparation of energy audit for the town, and we're planning to do, and so we've done a lot. We've done a vulnerability assessment, and we're planning to do a lot of things this year, such as a greenhouse gas inventory and municipal climate action plan, but we have to do more, and the reason we have to do more is so this certification will help the town, be beneficial to the town, but more importantly, it will help ensure the survival of this planet. So we looked at the state, we looked at the town, but if you look on the world stage, is an all-electric, zero carbon future possible? Are we ready to phase out coal and end subsidies for fossil fuels? You know, issues have developed at the climate summit recently between developed countries and developing countries, because developing countries think that developed countries have caused more of the problem with their industry. And so you would think we have real problems. And as Carrie said, at the Accords in 2015, the Paris Accords, the goal was 1.5 degrees centigrade as far as moving up to where we are. Probably that's never going to happen. We'll probably have to be satisfied with a 2% increase. But there's good news, and the good news is that at the recent summit, there was a call to end the use of coal and reduce fossil fuels. In addition, 105 countries agreed to end to reduce the methane emissions by 30%, and 24 countries have agreed to become EV by 2040. And last Wednesday, Ithaca voted to electrify and decarbonize all of its buildings, which is the first initiative of its kind, with the goal of totally moving away from fossil fuels. Because 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions come from buildings. So, and Miami appointed a chief heat officer, and New York City has an office dedicated to climate resilience. So, with regards to the state of play, CO2 emissions continue to rise, warmer water, sea ice melting, glaciers melt. China and the U.S. remain the largest contributors of greenhouse gas emissions, and the methane and carbon trap the heat in the Earth's atmosphere, leading to global warming, flooding, natural disasters, fires, etc. That's bad news. But things could get better if you help. And so we need you to get involved with the town. We need you to get involved with the Climate Smart Community Program. We need you to work on your own to be greener by composting, recycling, or making your home more energy efficient. You need to schedule an energy assessment of your home, upgrade your home's cooling or heating and heating technology, incorporate the mantra of reuse, reduce, recycle into your daily life, and invest in efficient lighting. Try to help Crown Bridge be greener, and do your part, since we all can make a difference.
So, Marilyn Shapiro, who is going to represent the Henry Morgenthau Preserve, is not able to be with us today. Just very quickly, mention that so many of our preserves in the woodlands and in the soil, there's a lot of carbon sequestration going on. So we kind of contribute an awful lot to the county and this tri-state area with the number of preserves that we have. They also have deer exposures on the preserves, which are places that the native plants are protected from the deer and able to propagate and hopefully thrive, and in the future disperse out back into the preserves. And the other major thing that the Henry Morgenthau does is provide some environmental education in Pembridge. They have funding to do that. They support the Pembridge Elementary School garden, the day camp programs, some educational programs. We'll have speaker programs here at the library. They will support interns and the invasives project. For our next presenter.
Hello, I'm Andrew Morgan, the land steward and program director for the Poundridge Land Conservancy. We are a nonprofit land trust that operates solely in the town of Poundridge. Instead of going through all of the things we do, I wanted to focus on a couple items that are kind of somewhat unique to us. We own and we protect 560 acres in town through ownership and conservation easements. That makes us the third largest landowner in town after the reservation and water supply lands. And at this point, most of you have probably heard of the 30 by 30 initiative, essentially that we need to conserve 30% of our land by 2030 to mitigate the worst impacts of climate change. But I want to highlight, it's not just a matter of the quantity, that 30%, it is also a matter of location. With this map, all the green, that is either our preserves or our conservation easements, and the gray in there is from a data set called Nature Network that essentially maps the core habitats and connectors in the Northeast. And there's a lot of things that go into this, but one of the biggest things is climate resilience and the animals and plant species able to migrate through these areas. And so as you can see, most of our preserved lands are within that. I mean, a lot of our town is as well, but we kind of really focus on these connectors, these habitat corridors. And part of that is with climate change, the phenology of animals and species are changing. Phenology is essentially, in a nutshell, the seasonal timing. So things are not in clear succession with each other, and so having a resilient habitat helps mitigate that problem. And so it's not just a matter of location, it's also a matter of quality of those lands. And one of our big things that we do is we do habitat restoration. And so that's essentially removing the invasive species. So in the bottom right, you can see partially cleared, that is almost entirely monoculture of Japanese barberry. Very low biodiversity. And on the upper right, that is a year later, is now becoming a native meadow. And this year we've categorized for 40 native plants now growing in that meadow just after 1 year. So just as an example, but it's really taking the invasives out of the picture that eliminate the resiliency of our lands and reintroducing biodiversity so that we have a resilient landscape. Let me go to the next slide. And so how you can get involved with us is volunteer. A lot of the invasive removal is through volunteer work. I'm just one person, so having a army of volunteers is critical. We also have some board openings on our board, so if you're interested in this type of work, reach out to us and consider joining our board. Contributing land, whether that's through easement or outright ownership, is how most of these properties have been acquired over the years since 1975. And of course, donate. We're a nonprofit, so that we're run off of that donation.
At least we were introducing ourselves, so Okay, yep, and we've got 5 minutes.
Yep. Hi guys, hi everybody. How's everyone? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, I see a lot of familiar faces. I first want to thank all the former and current board members of PRLC, a very important organization in town. As Andrew mentioned, 1975 till now. As a past president, I just want to say everything they highlighted is incredibly pertinent to today, and it's building on over 30, 35 years of experience and community participation in that organization. So, and I applaud former board members, current board members, and the current leadership, so, and staff. So, bravo. So, as I say, I've played many roles in town, and there are 4 legs to a stool when it comes to resiliency and land conservation, habitat conservation, and natural resource preservation. One of them is our town regs, and that's why it's so important. We have a comp plan update that's in process. Anybody interested in that is going to address recommendations to our town regs. That's number 1. Number 2 is organizations like PRLC, PR Town-Rich Partnership, Morgenthau Preserve, everybody else that partners together to preserve our native habitats. Number 3, if I can remember, is landowner outreach and all of our landowner efforts. That's why Pollinator Pathway is so critical. It's all landowner engagement. So that's the 3rd leg. And the 4th leg is this. So this is the Open Space Acquisition Committee. And it's my latest iteration of what I'm doing in town. This was started in 2000, if I remember, and somebody correct me if I got the wrong information. We have had 2 referendums to tax ourselves, to fund a pot for the town to purchase open space. In 2004, maybe it was, we used about $1 million of those dollars, am I right on that, to purchase Eastwoods, 48 acres, with a backup easement at that time. It's still continuing, Westchester Land Trust, and I know PRLC has a belt and suspenders approach that we put in years ago, where any lands owned by WLT or easements and vice versa have backup easements by the other organization here in town. So we did make that one purchase. We also put towards a purchase, I think through Mianus, to help protect the Mianus River Gorge. So we work with Rod Christie in Mianus as well. And then we had 2008 crash. The bottom line is the Open Space Acquisition Committee has been reconstituted as of early this year. Former board did great work, former chairs did great work on identifying, our charge is to identify criteria for purchasing land for town-owned protection of habitat and any other criteria we think is important. And so we are in the process of reviewing, and we have reviewed past criteria. They're a little mushy. We sort of feel like they're a little mushy. And so we're tightening them up. We're also using new tools. And so I want to thank, who else is here? Besides Pamela, who's my co-chair, is there anyone else here on open space right now? No. So we have 2 open board, commission board seats, so you're welcome to join us. And what our current slate of workers is doing is reviewing past criteria, establishing for ourselves what we value most. And the way we're doing this is not by just walking the land, and that's not a just, it's really important, but it's working using GIS mapping. So this is Conserving Nature Stage. These are resilient sites all across the United States. No, let's go back, Carrie. So in New York, you can see sort of lower New York, there's a green area there. That's what Andrew is mapping. We are part of a huge picture. And I want to say that northern and New England forests, and we are a southern tier of that, are one of the lungs of planet Earth. Do you get that? Our forests are lungs of planet Earth, along with the Amazon, and I think 3 or 4 other places around the globe. We have a job to do. We are very connected. You want to go to the next slide, Carrie? Sorry. So in this next slide, and this is work that's all done by the major Conservancy, TNC. Again, you can see here, so this is the connected network, and you see this green coming up the south, from the south and heading up through southern New York, and then into the northern woods. There are all sorts of cross-border collaborations, including Hudson Valley Atomic. I sit on the steering committee. Several of us participate in that. 30 seconds. Participate in that. Well, our goal is to protect this movement of flora and fauna throughout the eastern United States. Let's just read real quick. Okay, so we have to avoid conversion. That's why we are purchasing land. That's why PRLC is doing this. And as landowners, we have a role in that too. Stewarding so that we don't convert. We want to protect wildlands, and obviously there's a climate solution pathway, carbon sequestration in our forest canopy, in our shrubs, and in our soils. Okay, next. Okay, I just want to show you this. Current forest sequestration, 65%. Half these contributions to emissions reduction in New England by 2050. See how important our forests are? This is work that's done by my friend Spencer Meyer at Highstead and Reading, and I work with him. So you can see the contributions, but there's our forest guys. And what does Cambridge do really well? We have connected forests. And that's what our GIS mapping is showing us. I know it's big acquisition. I got one or two more? Just we'll go through them real quick. And then, another one? And if I don't, it's okay. It's not working? It's not working. Oh, there we go. So, I think Andrew and others spoke to carbon stocks increasing with species richness. This is really incredibly important because as both landowners and stewards of our forests, and Andrew pointed to this, carbon stocks are sequestered at different levels of the forest. And right now, our forests are not in great shape. We got a lot of work to do. And we have to, from Carey Institute in the Hudson Valley, says you need to have a 50 to 400 year horizon when you are managing your forest, because you're really managing for the long term. Okay, next, so. And then, I guess it's not, okay. This picture, thanks Jennifer. So it's just about, it takes a community. It takes all of us to play different roles. And I think that's it. Okay, and then this is just an example. This is the Hudson Valley Natural Resource Network. Anybody want to work with GIS mapping and the Open Space Acquisition Committee? These are some of the things that we use in the tools. Thanks.
I'm Ellen Brogan. I'm Ellen Brogan from the Cambridge Conservation Board.
And I'm Jody Elkins Stay-Horse from the Cambridge Conservation Board.
So, my first slide. That's right. We must begin with a new resolve. The tiny bits of the Earth's surface that we call our property are not our own. Only if we develop a sense of stewardship of the land entrusted to our care will its life-giving beauty be preserved. That is from this publication by the Cambridge Conservation Advisory Committee, published in 1973. They used slightly different terminology, but their mission then was similar to the conservation boards today: open space preservation, pollution control, protection of native flora and fauna. They talked about their role as an advisory board to other town boards in matters where these concerns are important. And they encouraged residents to be responsible land stewards. The recommendations will sound familiar. Reduce the size of your lawn. Restore most of your property to its natural state. Use only organic fertilizers. Use native plants, not exotics. Protect wetlands. Reduce waste. Recycle. Don't let your automobile idle. Now, I'm old enough to remember 1973 pretty well. And no one was talking about climate change. At least no one that anyone was paying any attention to. Go to the next slide. So fast forward to 2018. says, no other issue demonstrates the critical interconnectivity of humans and nature like climate change. The call of responsible stewardship is clear. The NRI addresses both the short and long-term possible impacts of a warming climate on our water, forest systems, plants and animals, and biodiversity. It makes a non-binding recommendations aimed at increasing the town's resilience in the face of climate change, and should be viewed as a resource for environmentally responsible land use planning for other town boards and committees. And I want to recognize Carrie Sears' enormous effort in getting it written, published, and acknowledged by the town. There's a digital copy on the town's website, and it is worth looking at. I'm going to turn it over to Jody Elkins DeForge, who's going to talk about our 2021 initiative that encourages residents to be environmentally responsible land stewards.
Great. Thank you. I've been on the conservation board for about 2 years, and about a year and a half ago, we started talking about, we started talking about healthy yards, and there's a great program, and hopefully all of us get it in our Instagram feeds. In Bedford and Westchester has a nice healthy yards, but we decided we needed to do something a little bit more unique to Pound Ridge, given the wooded areas that we do have. So we started our Pound Ridge Healthy Yards and Woods, and we really, we've done a few things already with this. We gave away 75 trees that are native to Pound Ridge, that also protect and supply food to pollinators and insects and the wildlife here. We did that over Arbor Day. And then we also worked with the PRLC and we did a community education session on what's happening to our trees, because we do have a lot of diseases that are coming in, and it's very important that we all are educated about that and know what to do to identify that and correct it as quickly as we can. Some other important things that we are encouraging as we go through this program is really, you didn't mention it, go organic, right? Let's not do it with the pesticides. We all, I know there's probably a water board going to talk to, we all drink the water that's underneath us. It's there. What you put on your lawn is you're going to be drinking it. So go organic. Also go electric if you must do something. This is a perfect time to remind everybody to leave the leaves. I can't tell you the anxiety that I get when I drive by and I see people have put all of their leaves in plastic garbage bags. Please leave them. It is food for your yard. Mulch it in, use it in your flower beds, and it's also very important for our insects and pollinators to use as protective and food sources throughout the winter. Okay, and I think that's the top thing. So you'll hear more from us. We also are going to do a workshop and invite many of you in the February, March timeframe.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay.
So biodiversity, or rather the collapse of biodiversity. Only very recently have scientists become aware and alarmed by the rapid decline in the number of plants and animal species on the planet. According to the UN's 2019 Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity, around 1 million animals and plant species are threatened with extinction, many within a decade. When we talk about the causes of climate change, we usually focus on greenhouse gas emissions and the use of fossil fuels, and that's correct. But there are other contributing factors: deforestation, habitat destruction and fragmentation, filling in of wetlands, and the overuse of chemicals that harm our water and soil, and waste, particularly plastics. These two projects, I'm sorry, Carrie, if you can go back. These two projects of ours, the pollinator pathway and the amphibian migration and road crossing project, raise awareness of the little creatures here as they said in 1973, on our tiny bits of the Earth's surface that are under threat. And it's no exaggeration to say that without them, our very existence is threatened. So we engage residents with these projects because they're fun. We encourage residents to provide habitat for pollinators on their property and to protect forests and water bodies, especially wetlands, that provide habitat for amphibians and other familiar wildlife. In other words, to develop a sense of stewardship, to to the land, the plants, and animals entrusted to our care. Because we believe now, as they did in 1973, that individuals acting collectively can make a difference. And finally, in conclusion, I want to end with two publications I started with. Their conclusions each look to the future and call for individual and collective actions from the natural resources inventory. Opportunities exist for all of us to make a difference today. Our actions will define us and our future. And presciently, from 1973, nothing at all can be done unless every citizen takes these concerns as his own. The future is indeed upon us, but we still have time to act, and the time is now or never.
Hi, my name is Melinda Adelino, and I'm part of Earth Day Every Day, which is a new initiative from the Friends of Town Ridge, a local 501c3. We're a group of residents passionate about reducing the waste we generate in Town Ridge from being sent to landfills, incinerators, and polluting our planet, thus contributing to climate change. We aspire to lead by example through educating our community while also amplifying and supporting the ecological and environmental messages of other local and regional groups, organizations, and businesses. This is how we believe we can make an impact on climate change locally, regionally, and individually, not just on Earth Day, but every day. Our focus this past year, we launched the Earth Day Every Day website to share low waste practices, tips, information, and statistics, and connect residents to local and regional resources. It's a place for information and resources to live and be continuously updated. There are sections on how to get started on a low waste lifestyle with ways to reduce, reuse, recycle, and how to compost. Next, we held a low waste exhibition last April of 2021 in celebration of Earth Day, and we educated residents on how to live a low waste lifestyle at home by showcasing local and regional resources with creative and practical ways to reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost. Along with our low waste education table, we had exhibitors for 3 ways to compost, backyard composting, the town's community compost program, a curbside compost service, recycling right with Riley for hard to recycle items, upcycling furniture and reusing items in innovative ways, the town's repair cafe, and the Take It or Leave It spot. Reusable signage. We created reusable signage display yard signs to promote events and campaigns around town to use them for tabletop displays at our events. Innovative ways to reduce waste in local events. We created an Earth Day Everyday Low Waste pop-up for our own events and to travel to other local organizations' events. Our low waste pop-up includes a water refill station to serve water in compostable cups and encouraging bringing reusable water bottles. A compost education table where we teach residents about 3 ways to compost that best fit their lifestyle and how composting can significantly reduce their trash. We offer a hand-finished countertop compost bin for a donation where 100% of the proceeds go back to Earth Day Every Day. Compost solutions. We work with the event coordinators, food suppliers, and other vendors to reduce the need for many single-use items with compostable alternatives and recommendations on waste reduction behavior. Staff waste stations. We coordinate a commercial compost drop-off pickup service for staff waste stations that go with the trash and recycling accounts. Along with signage, we train volunteers to ensure guests are properly disposing everything while making it a learning experience too. We recently implemented the entire program at Press Fest last weekend, which we co-produced with the President again. Our impact to date. Our most recent efforts of diversion from the waste stream was at Press Fest. We diverted approximately 100 gallons of trash by using only compostable items. We diverted over 150 single-use 12-ounce plastic bottles with our water refill station and over 165 single-use 12-ounce plastic bottles of soda with a keg on tap. The asterisk points out the effort in waste reduction behavior by encouraging guests to bring their own reusable water bottle and to reuse their compostable cup and other serveware until they were finished using them. For our total water refill station diversion efforts from the waste stream so far, we have diverted over 1,000 single-use 12-ounce plastic bottles since May of 2021. This includes Press Fest as well as additional Friends of Town Ridge events such as the Memorial Day Barbecue, golf tournament, water park, and other events we participated at, such as the Kiwi Market and the Artisan Flea Market, as we are just getting started. Ongoing success metrics. practices by holding an annual family-friendly birthday event and be a platform for our local and regional groups, organizations, and businesses to share their messages. We'll continue to support all Friends of Cambridge events for a low-waste pop-up and put into practice as many low-waste options as possible. We want to inspire other local organizations and town groups to reduce waste. We will lead by example with our Earth Day Everyday Low-Waste pop-up at our Earth Day event and all Friends of Cambridge events. We plan to work with the Conservation Board's Repair Cafe team to have our water refill station and compost solutions at the next event this April 2022. How others can support us. The number one need we have is our volunteers. We only require a passion for the environment, and we will train anyone who works with their availability. Tell your friends. Let your friends know that reducing waste at home is attainable for everyone. We're here to help without judgment and feel that any effort may count. Encourage other local organizations and town groups and businesses to reduce waste. Ask them to consider implementing low-waste practices and let them know we're here to share our experiences. Together, we can make a significant impact on climate change through our collective waste reduction practice and efforts. Please visit earthdayeveryday.co to learn more about how you can get involved and make a difference. And remember to pick outside the trash.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Kester and I'm a junior at Foxton High School and also a junior associate member on the Commerce Conservation Board. I'm going to be talking to you about my project, Recycle Right with Riley. So the goals of my project are to increase recycling in Cambridge and to educate people about the recycling opportunities that are already in our town, while also creating opportunities that aren't in the town. So I started this project around 3 years ago, and I participated in the Bedford 2030 Greenlight competition. And for that project, I created a list of all the current recycling locations that Cambridge already had to bring recognition to them, because I found that a lot of residents just weren't aware of the locations that Cambridge had. And then the other half of my project was creating opportunities for recycling of kind of abnormal products that don't go in your normal waste stream. So an example of this is I worked with Phillips Men's Hair Design in Cambridge to recycle razor blades. And for these projects, I partnered with the company TerraCycle. And TerraCycle is a company that recycles these abnormal products such as razor blades, light bulbs, batteries, those kinds of things, and they recycle them into new products. And the newest TerraCycle location is actually here at the Cambridge Library, where you'll be able to recycle batteries, and this is very recently put in place, so now you know you can bring your batteries to be recycled here. And then my newest project that I'm working on is the Next Tracks project. And Next Tracks is a company that creates benches and chairs and decking, and it's all made out of recycled materials. So Next Tracks has this recycling community challenge, and the challenge is to collect 500 pounds of plastic. And this includes plastic film and bags, and you can see on the slide more specifically what can be recycled. It's a 6-month window where you have to collect these 500 pounds of plastic, and if you do collect the plastic, you're rewarded with one of the Next Tracks benches. So that's an example of what the boxes would look like, and the locations of where the boxes will be aren't exactly decided yet, but one of them will be here at the Cambridge Library. And I'm hoping to start this project very soon. But, so, for information on when this will all be starting, you can email me if you have any questions about either the TerraCycle boxes or like just suggestions for these boxes. And information in record review and on social media will be out when the Next Tracks project is started, and all of the TerraCycle boxes.
Of course, I get to follow that. I don't know. I'll start with the next, of course, it's me. All right, so I'm Betsy Ronell. I'm here on behalf of the Cambridge Partnership, and thank you for having me. So, all right, I'm here to talk about
about our mission. Our mission is to make impactful changes that support and improve the business district, making local better. And we are a district from the library all the way through Scott's Corners, including the hamlet here where John George is and the Huntress. And our focus is intersectionality and effect on our local community by partnering with the town, residents, and other businesses, and other community focused organizations. We seek out opportunities for long-lasting impact through projects and events. So some of our projects, which you may or may not know of, are the first EV charging station, the first in our area. Other towns are just starting to look. I know there are other groups that are going to supply some too, which is great. Ours is already up and running. It's right across in that newly paved parking lot of North Star. And then we also have those beautiful new energy efficient lights, street lights. We identified the need, invested in studies which helped the town acquire a grant for the improvement, and then expanded on it by, I didn't write this, getting another grant and allowing us to expand the number of lights in our whole area. So they're really, the goal was to reduce light pollution, which is a super duper problem all over this country. I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico for a long, long time, and light pollution was a very big deal for us there, so I was very sensitive to this, and I really appreciate our new lights, and they're also beautiful. And then also recycling. We started this because we had some complaints, understandably, with business waste. So we started with making beautiful enclosures and recycled enclosures for business waste. And then now includes bins for public use, which include a recycling station and general refuse, and those bins are made of recycled milk jugs. And they're also durable and they're nice looking. You see them popping up all around town, and we're getting more. And then we have our plant days, which we work with Carrie Sears on. And we have done really beautiful projects that connect local ecology efforts. We work with other organizations, with the pollinator pathways, municipal landscape plans, and America in Bloom, which Carrie's working on with us. We've done this where our first pocket park, we're calling them, was next to Blind Charlie's. And now we're working on something which I'm sure you've all seen in front of the post office. That beautiful, right by the intersection, if you're coming from New Canaan, right on the right. It's beautiful. I think this was all built up, correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, by the Pound Ridge Crowd Day volunteers, as well as your people. Growing Pound Ridge, okay, I didn't want to, yeah, I'm glad that you're here, because I wasn't sure about that. The pocket parks have been built by Pound Ridge Crowd Day volunteers. And we also have something going with Pound Ridge Elementary as well, with their outdoor classroom, which is really cute. All right, and our initiatives and events. So we have two major fundraisers. We have the Eco-Chic friendly event, Eco-Chic Evening, and that's a focus on sustainability, creates awareness, has all elements supporting eco-mindedness. So eco-fashion, farm-to-table dining, consciously crafted products, and proceeds all go to our Pound Ridge Green initiatives. I have some notes. Yeah, my notes aren't very good. Okay. So anyway, I don't need them. Okay. I'm really sorry. Okay. You're smarter than I seem today. Okay. 3. All right. So, but honestly, what that does, and one thing we did do, though, I will say, is that this year we partnered with Bedford 2030. I don't know whoever was there. We had a Soil Your Undies campaign, which I thought was hysterical. It showed about the lifespan of tidy whities and just over the years and how they disintegrate into the ground and what affects the disintegration. So even a tidy whitey is a pollutant. And it just showed the effects of our soil reacting to tidy whities, which just gives it, a funny concept, but to take it larger, like our soil is so powerful, and so are the products we put into it in the landfills, et cetera, as we all know. So it was showcasing what other climate-centric organizations are doing, and we hope to inspire others to take action as well. That was why we included Bedford 2030 and Eco-Chic. Then we have what everyone comes to, which is the Harvest Fest. And that's focusing on waste reduction on a scalable level. This year we brought in approximately 6,000 people. We brought in, like Friends of Pound Ridge, we brought in sustainably produced water. We had open water. And we also had our recycling partner for all the waste, MeCycle, and it was a local focus. So it was all local businesses, locally crafted things, locally sourced things, just trying to keep it super, super local so that we're not bringing in somebody from California to have their little pop-up shop at Harvest Festival. So it was all hyper-local. And was it good? That's perfect. I'm good. Because it was short and sweet. I didn't give you all. Yeah, runner, and that was fun. Battle of the Bands is super fun, because that's with a lot of the kids, and everyone enjoys it. And one of my favorites, Food Truck Friday, of course, we need tons of volunteers for that. We're working on reducing waste. We are no longer going to be selling those water bottles that we sell at our tent. I'm so embarrassed, I'm not gonna do that anymore, because it's highly offensive, and I completely agree. And they were like, not my, so we're stopping that. Yes, growing Power Ridge, which we're doing with Carrie, who's like superpower. Power's Harvest Festival, which you all know of, and Power's Proud Day, which helps plant some of these pocket parks and does all kinds of beautification projects for our little town. So get involved. We need volunteers like everything else. Thank you so much.
I'm John Grogan with the Energy Action Committee. I joined about a little over a year ago. Some of our members are Larry Groffman, Tom Smith, Paul Berger, Rich Carroll, and Krista Sabetta. That's all our members. And Gail Riker, she couldn't be here today. She's my co-chair at the EAC. We started in 2009 as a way for greater energy efficiency and sustainability, and to facilitate a healthier environment for our residents. So green energy, the EAC introduced the Community Choice Aggregation, or CCA, to lower the cost of accessibility of renewably sourced electricity. So all PR residents in municipal buildings are powered by 100% renewables. So all hydropower. My understanding, if you don't want that, you can opt out as a resident, but everybody gets it. Now, that recent news is going to be switching for a temporary, for a few months starting in November. We'll see what happens there. We helped spearhead the first electric vehicle charging station located in Scotts Corners. It was funded by a generous donation from PR Partnership and NYSERDA grant award. Cleaner equipment. Just recently, the EAC, with support of the Conservation Board, recommended the town to use oil battery leaf blowers from May 15th to 30th, starting next year. Will certainly help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We'll see how that goes. Next slide here. Some other things we did in the past is solar energy. We tripled the amount of solar energy in Pound Ridge back in 2017. If you go to Sustainable Westchester, you'll see solar companies that have been vetted, and we can, ask for a quote. Energy efficiency. We advanced residential energy efficiency through ongoing promotion, like Energize Pound Ridge, and also alternative energy. Eat Smart campaign, we did that, where perhaps get geothermal for your house. And community awards, we help collaborate with the Conservation Board to attain bronze level designation. So, next slide, please. As Carl mentioned, there'll be more EV stations coming up in the next year, so it will certainly help MC that grant. It's very critical. Battery buses. Now, we waded into this. It's a little complicated because the school district, it's largely a school district decision on the battery buses, but we'll study this and make recommendations. Home energy, one of our members, Mitch Carroll, is really going to take the lead on home energy audits through Sustainable Westchester. Next, quality of life. This is a broad subject, but we're talking about studying gas leaf blowers and other landscaping equipment, and battery operated alternatives. And we look to make a recommendation to the town board in the next couple of months. Because landscaping equipment does account for quite a bit, 10% of all greenhouse gas emissions in the USA. This could also help us achieve the accelerated mission. Complete streets, that is a county program, which promotes more of a walkable Pound Ridge. And we've been discussing something in the EAC about the Greenway Trail. Some of you may have heard about this, connecting Pound Ridge to Bedford, and also making a safer way to get to Perez. So somehow we'll study and see how we could, connecting 7 Old Pound to Perez, and we'll see how we can impact that. And grants, it's complicated. It's a very time-consuming process, but we're just, we're looking into it. But we need to really find all existing grant opportunities to take advantage of. And we have a small committee, but it's worth it. We really our best shot. And finally, green purchasing. Carla suggested this earlier. We're going to send, the EAC is going to send a letter to the town board, asking them to consider buying something that's a cleaner alternative, especially with lawn equipment in the coming future. So, anywhere there's a choice between something that's highly polluting, strong consideration should be to a green alternative. So,
And hopefully that would be for all purchasing decisions,
Yeah.
not just equipment, but any purchasing decision made at the town house. We have criteria for that, so even, toilet tissue, here, like.
Yeah.
That's all.
So now it's time to draw some. At home, the first step is a home energy audit. If you haven't had it, get a home energy audit, because they will, they set you up with a plan, and you can start working on things immediately. It is impressive what's going on in the town. It really is, isn't it?
Yes.
Wouldn't you say? So, little time for questions of any of our speakers. We can rearrange chairs a little bit. Elise?
My question is, there seems to be, amongst all the great presentations today, some overlap. And I'm just wondering and hoping that many groups are partnering with other groups, and not, to get ideas bigger, to get more energy into them, and to see how they're connected in ways to other groups that are working. So I would just make a big suggestion that, that organizations that we've heard from really all work together. So I would, and the other thing is, with the comp plan update, we're now, it's now over 13 years old, and we have chapters that relate to many different of these topics, and I know many of you are involved in that effort, but those of you who are not should come and talk to me about it, because we're rebooting this up after the first of the year. And we're actually having a big meeting in December, so just let me know if you're interested. There's a lot of us that are involved already, but there are some of you that are not.
Phil?
I have a question for Paula, which is really the future of the recycling center at the highway department, because obviously the costs are going up, but the demand for its usage is also going up.
Right.
And can you tell us what the town's thinking is on that right now?
We're in the process of doing an evaluation of the recycling center. And also having and I'd love the perspective of everybody in this room, some tough conversations on, when the recycling center first came to be, it was before potentially all of the carters automatically had recycling within your daily pickup. So right now, aside from kind of those large bulky items, which are some I'll come back to, a lot of the materials that the town is collecting and paying to have taken away, it's almost like we're double taxing residents because they're paying their own carters to take it away, and then the town is paying for it again. So that's a conversation we're having. It's like, what is the role of the recycling center for those types of things? And then also with the influx during COVID of more people at home, more kind of full-time residents, more people undertaking big projects, kind of that large waste stuff that we're doing sometimes like one dumpster a week, which is like $500 a dumpster for that. And even though the town does take fees, the system, I think, is broken. As most of you know, you have to kind of go to the townhouse first to get your permit, then you're coming. People buy a small car permit, and then they're coming with a big van, or we're getting a lot of contractors coming in and dumping stuff. So it's kind of trying to balance, how do we make that more efficient? Is it, you know, electrifying it, which would make a lot of sense, and then being able to take like credit card payments and stuff there? Or is it something, instead of doing this every week, doing something like other towns do and having a quarterly, you know, kind of big junk drop off, you know, which could save, you know, the town money that way and still provide the service to residents. There's obviously, people were very upset that the take it or leave it area, you know, was removed, and really trying to rethink of that, because what was happening there was they were you know, some people were dropping off stuff that really nobody would really take, and they didn't want to pay fees for, you know, and kind of saying, oh, it's take it or leave it. So that it's really kind of undergoing a whole assessment. I almost feel like we need, within the town board, and it would be great working with maybe members of some other committees, almost like I don't want to say another committee, but a little task force, you know, to really evaluate these, because these are the conversations that we're having right now on what is the future of that, how do we reimagine what that looks like, and what makes the most sense, both from an environmental perspective, from an economic perspective, for taxpayers, and all of that. So I don't know what you guys think. I'd like to hear anything there.
I think a task force, these ad hoc task forces, with so much great energy in town. I just think the board, if you're a facilitator of this project, you know, of knowing who's in the community and just saying, let's get together and have this conversation and make it a 6-month project and have some end results that are measurable and that make sense, and putting it out to the community and saying, look, we're going to do another 6 months of test of this. And that way you're involving everybody that's in the mission, including Riley and everybody else who's working on it. I think ad hoc task force at the board level are critical.
I need a time check.
4:15. 4:15.
4:15? Oh, good, okay. Because we said we'd go, you know, an hour and a half. So, other questions, comments, suggestions?
Nobody's freaking out about the prospect of further traffic change to the recycling center. That's what like, no one was like, oh, that's like a totally radical idea. Okay, that's good to hear.
But
It depends on the solution, I guess. Devil's in the details. Okay, yeah.
Doing much more recycling and not like scaling back, but I mean.
Well, it would be, in some
These
areas,
plastics
it would
end
be,
up
yeah.
in the ocean, I mean, but we have, you know, I think educating our community, because there is a feeling that when you put something in the recycling bin of your party or at town, that you don't have any certainty that it's going to be recycled. It's just this wishful thinking kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
having the town do some sort of a certification, all these carters are licensed, but having the town do some sort of additional certification might be a really great idea to give us some confidence in what's happening.
It is, it's also regulated at the county level. And I have been told that when the carters bring it to the drop-off station, that it is, you know, checked, regulated, and so. But it still takes faith.
I think there needs to be more, like, what Ryan does, where like, there's you're matching what's being recycled to its reuse somehow. And if there's more of those types of programs, then we can know and feel good that it's actually being done. And as opposed to, you know, these big dumpsters going to whatever. But I think those types of, having more of those kind of programs are gonna make it a bit more successful and more targeted. Feel better.
Yeah, I would think it would be interesting to find out from the county exactly what's happening with the recycling that are being collected and picked up there, where they're actually going.
The real cost to the town, is it the bulk items that have skyrocketed?
Well-
Or is it the cardboard and plastics?
The bulk, well, the cardboard and plastic we used to make money off of, and now we pay. And there's a lot more of it because people don't trust their carders, so they're bringing it to the recycling center, even though city carding is taking it away from the recycling center. It's the same, you know, carder that you have at home. So it's that, but then also the bulk items are very expensive. We're getting a lot more of those, and then people, you know, either through no fault of their own or whatever, they're not necessarily paying the right amount. The one thing that does seem to be working is the e-waste, so that's good.
Would the town consider,
That's the law.
would the town consider, I know at one point I went and visited city carding and got a tour. And it was pretty clear what they were doing. It was pretty cool. And the facility was amazing. If there was a task force that just kept up to date on their practices, you know, and could certify in some informal way, I think that would make people feel better.
Did you go to the Summit Station?
I don't remember where it was, a couple of years ago. It was pretty amazing.
I have found though that these local carders, whether it's city carding, Oak Ridge, I'm home a lot now. I see right out my window when they come and pick up our big recycle bin. And it has been so disappointing how many times I've seen them put it in the same part of the truck as the garbage. And we've been through like 3 of these companies because of that, and you call them, they all have an excuse that the specific truck broke down that day. So forget about what they're doing with it after they take it away. It's what's happening half the time in your driveway.
Yeah, and then once it's
And
contaminated,
that's a
it's
problem.
trash.
They sort of-
Yeah, once it's mingled.
There might be a place to report that in the
It's
Westchester
surprising.
County, the Westchester
It's
County.
surprising how often it
Yeah,
happens.
but I think there might be a place to report it on the Westchester County Waste Management page.
I wonder if the town could have some sort of say in that.
Grants are we all want to do grants, and it's just as John said, it's an overwhelming thing, but we want to take advantage of it. Is there any possibility of getting some help in the town with, you know, a grant writer, somebody to help us with grants?
That is something that we're considering as we're looking at the 2022 budget. Is there a portion or something of a person that we can allocate to that and hopefully have it pay for itself?
It would be so helpful to all of us. We identify grants, but
You also need a grant strategy, right? So it's not, because what seems to happen now is that they kind of come over the transom haphazardly versus concerted strategy, and this is what we want to focus on, and these are our priorities, and this is where, you know, we're willing to give, because none of the grants come totally without strings.
Sure, yeah, right, absolutely.
And a lot of the grants come every year at exactly the same time from the implementation, so we track those.
It's interesting, because Carla, I think, and this is what I've heard from some town board members, that we've had a crunch, a crunch in personnel at the townhouse. And we really could use more folks, but I think it's not your place in the budget to do that without community support. So we actually need to be voices in the community about how we want to spend our taxpayer dollars, and to be able to say we want more oomph in this area. And we're willing to invest in our town in this area, so things are either more transparent, or that we can get some help, Ellen, like you're suggesting, both on strategy and grant writing. Sometimes, you know, we're looking at the budget, and yes, there's political practicalities that you want to keep a budget low. But if there's folks in town, and there's organizations in town that want to be a voice for spending money in certain ways, then we actually need to take that on. And Because we're only gonna get what we want if we say we're gonna pay for it. Home rule, and that's, when we're in charge of it.
Thank you.
I think that's very important in terms of addressing the climate crisis also.
Huge.
I mean, we are doing some pretty awesome things, but 89% of the carbon emissions come from fossil fuels. And I don't think we're doing enough to address that. Clearly. And that's gonna take our money, our taxpayers' money. So I think what you're saying.
You know, it goes to 30 by 30 also. In our county, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, that right now, without the reservation, you cited this number, we're at 28% forest preserved. And with the reservation, we're about 40%. Am I right on that?
Yeah, it's open space, so that includes the water supply.
Okay, that's what includes water supply land.
Not
So
the
not only taxing ourselves to preserve more land, but we are a pretty wealthy community. And we may need to do more than 30 by 30. Maybe we could do 40 by 30. Maybe we can do 50 by 30. But those slides that I showed you, that shows you how critical Pound Ridge is to carbon sequestration. And we actually have the ability to do it. We can actually have businesses that we need. We actually can do it with the land that we have, and we're going to show that in the Open Space Acquisition Committee with housing and with other things. We can design what we want in our town and still preserve a very large amount of critical habitat. We can do both. It's not one or the other. And that's our vision, but we have to step up to the plate.
I'll also add, at the beginning of the year, when the initiative was announced in the United States, it's the preserved land is 12%. So we've got over half way to go to get to that goal. So.
And we can do double. We can easily do double and be part of the solution.
So I think it would be a good idea to have someone on town board, on staff, who does grant writing. But in addition to that, at least you said that there's a lot of overlap, and there is a lot of overlap. Like on my Climate Smart, I'm doing conservation board stuff, I'm doing NG action stuff, I'm doing open space stuff. And it seems to me that if you combine a director of sustainability type person with a grant writer, then you're killing two birds with one stone. And it's beneficial for the town in that you're not doing the overlap, so you can concentrate, because everyone knows what everyone else is doing. And it just seems like possibly that works. I don't know, and, obviously, there's a cost. And the town has less people working for it now than it did, pre-pandemic. But it just seems like that kind of creates a synergy and makes life easier for everyone. Because you know what's going on, and you look at like a Julie Noble in Kingston, and they made it work, and obviously it's a monetary issue at the end of the day.
That's why I think these ad hoc task forces that combine people's initiatives, is a really good idea. That maybe this time has come, so we're not feeling like we're in our silos.
And that's similarly true in the conservation space, where you've got 5 major organizations vying for the same attention and funds, and the more we combine our efforts, the less fragmentation you get. So you don't end up like in New Jersey, you've got like 59 school boards, 590 school boards. I mean, we actually really need to work together a lot more.
There's actually statistics that show that competition between land conservation organizations is not where it's at. Where it's at is that you explain you understand how big the pie is, and you expand the pie. And everybody gives to different organizations, and multiple organizations. So that works. There's no necessarily, it's not competitive, it doesn't need to be. That's an old legacy model. That's a legacy model, and it's outdated. And so we've been, there's so many collaborative regional and county organizations, and we just have to have a different mindset that says we're not competing, we need to grow
shaking up. I mean,
Yes.
it's somewhere between 15 and 20% at this point.
I think that,
Maybe 50%.
yeah, I know it's over 100.
So, is there a way of kind of like having like a newcomer free for all? I mean, so that we can all kind of pitch to these new people and help them come into our community in a more forceful and impactful way?
I think that's a great idea. You know, it's something everyone talks about, all the newcomers, we don't know who they are. My hypothesis, I don't know, is that a lot of them have younger families, and I was wondering if that's something we do through press, you know, and we do some outreach that way with panel. I think that's like a great idea to kind of engage. We have seen, in the last year on some of the boards and commissions, we were, especially during the pandemic, we were getting a lot of kind of new people to town interviewing. So we definitely know that there's interest and energy and desire to be involved. So maybe,
Just to piggyback on what you're saying, as a real estate agent, the demographic we are bringing into this town are young families, young couples, young singletons even. I've even brought single people, like, what are you doing? They're like, well, if I buy it, they'll buy, I'll find my mate. So, well, but it's young, it's the under sort of 45 set that's moving here overall. It's a large generalization, but what I've seen, what my colleagues have seen, under 45, young, highly environmentally conscious, move here in part because of our conservation efforts, our conservation land. They choose this town. They choose it. And I'm on all these little things on Facebook and stuff. What's a great environmental town? What's a town that really cares about their citizens? A number of, and I can't say anything as a broker on those boards, but random people, Calgary, and some northern towns too. So we have new blood here that's totally dedicated and very conscious of this. These are the people that don't use wrapping paper. It's like that mindset. They're young, they're new, and they want this.
how would you recommend we reach out?
I think we need a little think tank on that because they're ready, they're ripe.
Well, I mean, we have this like newcomers group that I've heard about since I moved here like 8 years ago and I've never seen, so maybe revitalizing the area. You know, revitalizing and utilizing that somehow, but working with real estate agents. I mean, they know when somebody who's moved in, so it's a matter of making sure all the real estate agents are referring all of their new clients to the new residents to this group, and there's some sort of welcome committee.
I would assume director of review wants for everything, and why can't director of review send 3 copies to every new resident, telling them what's happening in town, and hopefully, and on the 4th copy say, hey, these are freebies, and maybe if every resident received director of review, they would read what's going on in town, they would read what's going on in the region, and they would be involved. Or even the town.
It costs them money, and then you can put that onto the.
And so I will say, part of the town business association, we tried to reinvent the new newcomers club, or the newcomers club, but what it was fine, it was really just supporting the local bricks and mortar, local services. So to work with the PRBA actually would be a very key thing to really broaden our reach. I mean, I have newcomer baskets still in my garage because we're still giving them out. But to really make that bigger and broader, everyone, friends and families, let's get together and use that as a vehicle to introduce all the wonderful things, not just our businesses.
Well, and I think you make a good point.
Correct. Be very welcoming, you know, not everybody's cup of tea is.
Right. I think collaboration is key. It's like what you said, it's like if there was some place where you could go see all these amazing groups that we have,
Yes.
and what the focus is, where the goals are, and here's who you reach out to to volunteer. It's something that could be, easily accessible online or.
Right. So maybe we take, whoever wants to head PRBA, I don't know the history, I've only been here 6 years, I don't know the history of the Newcomers Club, but PRBA is sort of unofficially taken over. But maybe we work it together where there's a number of organizations, we all are part of the sort of roots of it, and then we include everything that we do, and have a newcomers night, each quarter, something like that.
We'll host it at the library.
Exactly.
We can literally like once a month or once a quarter.
Yeah.
Bring all the new residents in.
They love that. I mean, the pandemic
I
was
would just do a quick overlay on this conversation and just say, people sitting in this room, no other folks who are leaders in the community, I actually think you need a series, maybe a series of 3 conversations that are facilitated about how do we collaborate and how do we come together. And we can do that in this room, and I'm very happy to help with that. And invite everybody who is doing some leadership role in some topic, because as we're learning, the topics completely overlap. Yes.
Well, this is my opportunity to talk about something we have planned for the Conservation Board on March 9th. Because I haven't advertised yet, but a lot of people here do know about it. We will have what we're calling right now a conservation fair for all the conservation groups in town to come and present about 15 minutes about their organization, and then they can have a table so that they can get volunteers. And it's a combination of this is what we do, and can we get people to help us? And so I've talked to Jennifer about it, and we talked about doing it in the library, but we think actually over in Conant Hall is going to be better for this sort of thing, where we can have presentations in one place and tables in another. So that is planned for March 9th, and everybody will hear more about it. Everybody should, we welcome everybody's participation.
I think that's absolutely fabulous, and I think having in the room people that are not only in conservation, but are doing business and economic development and anything else needs to be in the room to hear how they overlap and where their interests align and what they can work on. And that only comes from sitting there and saying, this is what I do, to somebody else who's sitting there facilitating something else. So it's a little bit different than what you're suggesting, but Ellen, that's fabulous.
So it's a little bit past our time, and I can't find my cell phone, so I'm not letting anybody know. Until you check, all right, or somebody could call me. All right, because I did have it, all right. Riley can attest to that. She admired the color.
Bill, is it in your pocket?
I know, it's not in my pockets. I
They're both ones out there.
Yes.
I wanted to say again, thanks everybody for coming, especially Jerry for getting everybody together out there, giving your time. And looking forward to really use the momentum. I think it's going to help you, but I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.